I'm Melvin Lars, president of the Muskegon branch NAACP. And actually I forgot my notes, but I really don't need them. I would like to address the academic aspect of this whole process. As we talk about lead poisoning, in our area alone, over 75% of all of the households built at one time are still laden with lead. They've had lead removal, etc. However, if you compound the complications that the children have with lead poisoning from the houses with the lead being emitted in the factories, then that's exactly what you have, a compounded problem. Now, why does that impact us so? It impacts us so because of the whole academic process. Thank you, Darren. It impacts us so because of the whole academic process. And I think all of us, from Washington to the ghetto, would admit that everyone is talking right now and discussing things about education and academics and what's wrong with the children and why can't they learn, etc. We can speak to our area. We all know that lead causes learning deficiencies, the inability to process, the inability to process and work with high order thinking skills, the inability to infer, and the whole nine. So as I honestly, sarcastically say, because I have some of my former classmates who are not athletes, and they like to talk about the athletes and about teaching, giving athletes grades and that kind of thing. But my mama didn't play that. So why am I sharing that? Because you have all of these kids in that area. If you do your research on Muskegon Heights, there is a great disparity among those young men and women as far as academics go. It is embarrassingly stated that they are great at sports, they are great at being in the band, but their academics suffer greatly. Now, could this be part of this whole emission process, with not only the lead being emitted into the atmosphere, along with the lead poisoning that they are getting from the houses that they live in, and coincidentally they can't afford to purchase, they only lease those houses because of their academic processes. So as we make our plea to the individuals who make these laws, who for some reason decide they want to dismiss individuals who may adversely be affected by all of the things that are going on, then I submit to you very respectfully is that you need to get over yourselves. Because first of all, when the shoe is on the other foot, there somehow seems to be a very concise understanding as to what one needs to do when faced with adversity. These young men and women in Muskegon County are faced with adversity. We question incessantly reasons and we look for strategies coupled with reasons as to why are they having so much difficulty learning, what seems to be the problem, is there specific impetus due to sports, etc. And the reason I wanted to use sports, I talked earlier this morning with some colleagues of mine, is how hypocritical we are when it comes to the educational process. So I just wanted to reiterate that by sharing that with you, is that maybe we need to look into the real aspect of student learning, of learning deficiencies, what's causing kids not to learn, etc., across the country, not only just in Muskegon County, not only just in Michigan. So as we think about the disparities in learning, as we think about comprehension skills, as we think about students being able to infer, if you look at all of these standardized tests, etc., that's one of the major areas of deficiency. They lack inference skills. They have very strong difficulty when it comes to reading, and we don't even talk about the literacy rate, etc. So we'd like to look at this lead process as a probable cause of poor academics. Maybe you hadn't thought about that before, but again, I sarcastically say, take it from a dumb athlete. Maybe I took too many hits in the head. I was a pretty decent student from what I understand, and a pretty decent athlete from what I understand. But I see too many, and I've worked with too many young men and women that have difficulty with their academics, that are athletes and non-athletes. So in Muskegon and Muskegon County, I don't want to be selfish, but that's where I represent, there is a gross misrepresentation of academia when these young men and women walk across the stage, walk out of high school, go to college, go to the community colleges, etc. Far too many of them are unsuccessful. Could it be because of all of this lead that's being emitted into their environment? I'd like for you to think about that. So with that stated, all of us who consider ourselves as scholars, all of us who consider ourselves to have all the answers, all of us that boastfully and sarcastically say, well, if that's just the way it goes, then please accept this plea as understanding that it's not just the way that it goes. We all have a responsibility. The brother talked about Genesis and about God's earth. The brother talked about us being responsible for that, and I heard my other colleagues come up and talk about that as well. So I'd just like to say to you, having been a part of that in my hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana, not the emissions, but from a creosote plant, where you have people with all kinds of illnesses that we're still suffering from now. I myself am a 20-year survivor of acute promyelocytic leukemia, and that's all they could attest it to. And my family suffers from that right now. Also in Muskegon, there's a super high incidence of renal failure. Could that have something to do with the emission? We are among the highest numbers in the country for having renal failure in Muskegon County, in a very concentrated area, and is mostly in the Latino and African American areas. So with that stated, I respectfully say, but I honestly say, to all of those of you that think you are above reproach and that think that it will not happen to you and that it cannot happen to you, please take into consideration that we are our brother's keepers and we are responsible for what happens to our brothers and to our environment. Thank you.